This video is sponsored by Storyblocks, but this video had a sudden major spike in views, as for this one and this one. And there's one thing they all have in common, and that is, not long before the spike, the thumbnail and title was changed. I briefly mentioned this thumbnail spiking phenomenon in a previous video and received quite a lot of questions, and I have to admit, there's more to it than meets the eye. There are many cases where it won't work, and when you do it correctly, interpreting your YouTube data, that's crucial. Nonetheless, changing the title and thumbnail of certain videos has led me to millions of views, and in this video I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about title and thumbnail spiking. If you've already made videos on your channel, it's a great way for you to instantly grow your channel and improve your YouTube game without focusing on the content of your video. And I know that feels kind of weird, but it works, and I've got proof. I'm going to be talking about the importance of your topic and concept, what title and thumbnail spiking actually is, how you can effectively do it. Then I'm going to be talking about tracking your changes and looking at your data. Then I'll show you 3 cases of successful thumbnail spikes, then 2 cases of unsuccessful thumbnail spikes. Then I want to briefly talk about if YouTube videos can actually die and whether thumbnail spiking won't be usable. And then I'll share some great thumbnail rules that worked for me. Before we move into titles and thumbnails, I have to mention that the topic of your video has just as much of an influence on the performance of your video, if not more, as the title and the thumbnail. And I've seen this in multiple different scenarios. There were certain topics in the niche of my old skateboarding channel that would always get a guaranteed amount of views. And I also noticed this when I managed a YouTube channel for a popular television show. Whenever they uploaded videos on trending topics, no matter how bad the title or thumbnail, it would just get more views. And this makes sense. Imagine you are extremely interested in cooking and you can choose to watch either a bad video about cooking or a good video about something you're not interested in, like, let's say, insurance policies. Which one would you click? So don't forget about your topic and concept. It might be more important than everything else. What is title and thumbnail spiking? So title and thumbnail spiking is the phenomenon of swapping a title and or thumbnail leading to a spike in views on a YouTube video. This is usually done to older, low performing videos to bring them back to life. How do you effectively title and thumbnail spike? Well, first off, don't do it to videos that are getting views or have a good click-through rate. You don't want to mess with a video that has good performance. Step 1 is to find a video that is very good but not performing well. Okay, but how do you know if your video is very good? Well, a video isn't necessarily good or bad. It's on a spectrum, and to push your video towards the good part of the spectrum, you could do things like increase the production quality by adding sound design or extra footage. I'm really hyped because to achieve this, there's this platform I've used called Storyblocks. And about a month ago, they reached out to me, to this channel, to sponsor this video. So even though we're not past 30,000 subscribers yet, there are opportunities coming this way because you are watching. So big thanks. The footage of the intro of this video comes from Storyblocks as well as the sound effects, and their platform has over 1 million assets available for download. But for the intro, I only used 3, and by combining their assets, you can just create these amazing sequences that really grab people's attention. They offer unlimited downloads for a predictable cost. But what I love most about Storyblocks is the Premiere Pro plugin. And this plugin allows you to download their entire stock library directly in Premiere Pro. So that means you don't have to be on your web browser and look for footage there, download it, put it in a folder, import it into Premiere Pro. No, you can just directly do it while you're in your Premiere Pro program and editing. And this has saved me tons of hours and I really love it, so I can highly recommend this. To get started with unlimited stock media downloads at one set price, check out storyblocks.com/BrunoK or click the link in the description. The second step is to open up Photoshop and create a better thumbnail. At the end of this video, I share some quick tips for creating better thumbnails. The third step is to swap the original title and thumbnail combination for your new one, and then you have to be patient for, I'd say, at least around 2 to 3 weeks, maybe more. It really depends on how many impressions your video is getting. The more impressions, the better. Then, after the initial time period, look at your data. The number one metric to look at is the amount of views. If the views have gone up, you've done something right and you need to look no further and celebrate. If the click-through rate has gone up but the views stayed the same, then it might mean YouTube is still getting to know the right audience for your video and it might still take a bit of time, or maybe not, you sometimes just don't know. If your views have dropped and your click-through rate has also dropped, then that's a sign that your new title and thumbnail combination isn't any better. So switch it back, take a Photoshop course, or create another one and wait again. While you're making these changes to your thumbnails and titles, you want to track the dates of when you are swapping your title or thumbnail. Doing this allows you to track the click-through rate data for each title and thumbnail combination. So I track these changes in a Google Sheets document. I fill in the date from when I swapped the title and thumbnail and I analyze the average click-through rate through there. Even if your video doesn't get a big spike in views, you can still see the data and use that as feedback to actually learn about how to improve titles and thumbnails in your niche. And in this sense, your audience is your teacher because it provides you with real-life data. The best way to learn about thumbnail and title spiking is to do it yourself. However, I can teach you from my real-life experience. Here are some real-life examples. Here are 3 cases of where I was incredibly successful at this and 2 cases of when I have desperately tried it over and over again and it never worked. Case number 1, this camera turns everything into a movie. This was the fastest thumbnail and title spike I have ever created. This is what the video looked like when I first uploaded it. The title was "So I Just Bought My First Cinema Camera" and the thumbnail was a silhouette of that camera. The concept behind this was that it would make people curious because they might want to know the first cinema camera that I bought. But to be honest, if your competitors are showing your potential viewers videos with beautiful images, great color contrast and fascinating information, my thumbnail was definitely lacking. The click-through rate data and views confirmed this to me. 175 views on the first day was much lower than my average and a click-through rate of 3% is also low. The day after uploading this video I changed the thumbnail to this and to be honest it looks even more confusing and my cinema camera isn't even in the thumbnail. So it became quite clear that this day I made a severe and continuous lapse in my judgment and I don't expect to be forgiven. Brother, On day 3 I wanted to give it at least another try and after 2 iterations I came up with this. An image of an incredible point of view shot of me crowd surfing at a live set at a festival and I changed the title to "This Camera Turns Everything into a Movie." And I gotta say, it's goddamn great. 10 out of 10 thumbnail. It makes people stop scrolling because of the crazy image and the title evokes curiosity because it makes people wonder what camera it was shot on. So almost immediately I could see the click-through rate go up, like literally in the same hour of me changing it. And with new videos, these changes can happen that fast because new videos get a lot more impressions than older ones. The final result? Not a huge clear spike, but a tiny spike later on with some pointy terrain in front of it. Looks good to me, I'll take it. Case number 2, the most popular video of this channel. It currently sits at over 650,000 views. However, it wasn't until 250 days till the video got a call from the algorithm and he picked up the phone. I've got some people coming over, you ready for this? How many? Over 650,000. My first title and thumbnail combination was this: 5 easy and cinematic ways to film yourself. I still think it's quite a good thumbnail, but perhaps it's not really clear what the thumbnail conveys when you're mindlessly scrolling on YouTube. Audiences on YouTube tend to be a bit stupid and we all know you gotta keep your audience in mind. So I tried something else and honestly looking back, this title thumbnail combination was definitely not an improvement. It looks ugly. It was another lapse in judgment. Then I tried this with the title 5 ways to turn your videos into movies by yourself. It definitely looked a bit better, perhaps not 650,000 views better, but 2 weeks later it started to spike and it brought a beautiful pointy double spike to this channel. Case number 3. For this case, we must move back a little bit to my previous channel and take a look at one of the most popular videos I've ever created. Don't dump your kids at the skate park. This video was uploaded in 2016 when YouTube strategies weren't so clear yet and thumbnail spiking wasn't known. The initial uploads looked something like this. The title was already great, don't dump your kids at the skate park. That's a sentiment a lot of skaters agree with, and it also speaks to all parents in the world that think skate parks are for kids. However, the thumbnail was horrible. I tried to grab viewers by using a big arrow, which was a popular thumbnail style at the time, but honestly, the arrow just makes it look extremely clickbaity and bad. So I changed it to something more subtle. I increased the amount of kids to exaggerate the situation. And the final result? Loads of spikes in my viewer graph. The most successful thumbnail spike I ever created. I showed you 3 cases of extremely successful thumbnail spikes, but I don't think you are ready to dominate the platform yet because thumbnail spiking actually rarely works. Even in my successful cases, it took me multiple attempts. And to help you learn more about thumbnail spiking, I also have to show you 2 more examples of when I tried it without results. Case 1. This video right here took me about a month to create. I think it contains a lot of value because it has a great narrative and it also contains lots of information and research about AI filmmaking. I spent too much effort into the production and content of this video and too little on the packaging, title and thumbnail. And this is what my initial attempt looked like. With the thumbnail, I was trying to go for a before and after result, but to be honest, the thumbnail it doesn't really show this. I created new thumbnails and switched the original one for over 6 times. I also tracked the data, but there has never been a sign of a significantly improved click-through rate. The last thumbnail I created, I really love the look of it, and I think it really fits my channel and the branding, but I can see from the data that it doesn't make people click as well. If you finally decide to give up on changing your thumbnail, the best way to move forward is to find out about the period where your click-through rate was highest. Then pick the title and thumbnail combination you used during that period for an optimal amount of views. Case number 2 of failing to thumbnail spike is this video. I learned all my career skills on YouTube, here's how. This is by far my best video in terms of production quality. And that's also the main reason why I tried to swap the title and thumbnail so many times. If a video is truly good and it's not getting views, then you can be quite sure that the title and thumbnail aren't doing it justice. On the contrary, if a video isn't that good, then you might not be sure whether the title and thumbnail are really the reason for it not getting any views. And that's why you only really want to do this to videos that are 100% great. But I also have to add that sometimes the topic or concept is just not interesting to people, so it's a bit of a gray area. Since the upload of this video 6 months ago, I've tried around 10 different titles and thumbnails. Unfortunately, none of them really worked, so I ultimately decided to swap the title and thumbnail combination back to the one with the highest click-through rate. And the cool thing is though, you can clearly see the different periods in the data. Another thing I want to mention and clear up is that people think that their videos can die and that YouTube simply doesn't show it to people anymore. Well, that is possible, but the thing is, you can see in your data if YouTube is still giving your video a chance. This is simply called your impressions. It's literally the data of how many times YouTube pushes your video into someone's recommended feed. I have some bad old videos that died, but if I look at the impressions, YouTube is still recommending it to 50 people a day. If I would change the title and thumbnail towards a grade one, YouTube will notice a change in click-through rate and push it towards more people. So it's not that YouTube starts recalculating everything once you swap it. It is simply constantly calculating your video statistics every single day. And in this sense, you can revive an old video, but in reality, it just never died. I'd love to go into what makes a great thumbnail, but I think that deserves a complete video on its own. So please comment below if you have any questions or if you want to see such a video. I do have some general grade rules for you. Apply a good concept that makes people want to click. Once you've created your thumbnail, ask yourself, would this make someone curious? Write down a strong reason, write down a couple strong reasons for why someone would want to click on the video. And if there's not a strong reason, it's probably not a strong title and thumbnail combination. Keep them simple. Thumbnails are small, so try to keep them simple. You want people to immediately understand your thumbnail once it pops up on their feed. Use contrasting colors. You want your thumbnails to stand out. You want the things in your thumbnails to stand out. So using contrasting colors and regular contrast in general helps you to do so. Composition. Compose your thumbnails in a way so that the important objects aren't behind the timestamp. It's quite an easy one, but it is important. There's definitely a lot more to thumbnails than I have explained. Like, for example, the audiences that your thumbnails are shown to and how you don't have access to that specific data. Let me know if you have any questions about this and I might be able to include them in a future video. Let me know if you want a future video on this as well. And if you want to see some behind the scenes, check out the Instagram. I hope you learned something. Thanks for watching.